So we are recording as usual. Caption. So don't know why this is not. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you this morning. Let me see who's online real quick here. So as always, we'd like to start with, is there anybody new who has joined us this morning? Anybody who hasn't been with us in the past? Okay, and moving on. Again, as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Valley of the Sun United Way, Satellite Broadcasting Communications Association, Khajiit, and Triad Wireless. So we appreciate that. Again, if you haven't already, if you would take the time to fill out the Google form, just so we know we have all your contact information, who you are, how to contact you, phone number, and all that kind of good stuff. I'd really appreciate that. Next thing is kibitzing with colleagues. As I think you all know, that after our meeting, we have an informal sharing session. We turn off the recording and we just have dialogue and questions. So that may be 15 minutes and maybe an hour. It just kind of depends on what people want to talk about. So I encourage you to participate. And then, Aaron, did you disappear? Okay, well, I assume she'll be back in just a minute.
She just went off camera, I think.
Yeah, so it looks like she's muted also.
Oh.
So I assume she'll be back in just a moment, hopefully. So while there she is. You're back, and you're muted.
Sorry, I have people working on the roof across the street from my house, and my dog was none too pleased about that.
I know, I have a dog like that. So we're going to jump in, Aaron, because I know again you got your event coming up, so I'm sure you want to talk about that. But then to talk about this is a huge project that you just got with Maricopa County. So I'm going to turn it over to you and to Derek. I think Derek's online also, and to turn it over to you guys to give us an update on that exciting project.
Hi, good morning. Sorry.
Do you want to share?
No, unless Derek does. And I'm gonna let Derek go first. I think his part of it is fairly massive. And I'm excited for him to be able to tell you all about it. So.
Okay.
Well, okay. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I guess what we're sharing today, Steve, I'll just suggest it's a bit too early for slides even. As I was thinking about what we might say this morning, I realized we don't have a slide deck, and we probably need to put one together. So, yeah, exciting news out of ASU.
Derek, let me interrupt you for just a second. So I think what Aaron and I had been chatting about in text is that we would do kind of a brief overview today, and then maybe next week or at another time to do a more detailed overview of the project.
Oh, absolutely. That's great. That's great. And so, yeah, the brief overview today is, yeah, so I'll just say the broadband component of the announcement that came out last week, and we'll be talking about more at 10 o'clock today, consists of several parts. And as Aaron noted, they're collectively, I guess, massive. The first is that we will be adding to and extending from some fiber assets we already have in the greater Phoenix area to create a collection of of open access middle mile loops, basically public purpose kind of middle mile loops that are intended to get connectivity out to communities in need. And so what we did a couple years ago now, leveraging census data, was we drew kind of a heat map of the whole state, actually. But in this context, the focus happens to be Maricopa County, because they're the sponsor here, of the most and under-connected communities in the state. And so what we've done in this proposal is we've drawn some loops around those hottest areas on the map, if you will. And we'll first be seeking to formulate an open access, competitively neutral, public purpose, middle mile set of connectivity assets. I'd say predominantly fiber where we can get it, and or where we can build it, and then wireless assets where we cannot. We will then leverage that middle mile ecosystem to enable community anchors all throughout those communities to get, high speed, low latency connectivity. And then we will also establish capability that will enable others to leverage the middle mile to deliver connectivity into surrounding communities via, whatever means they have at their disposal. And when I say others in that context, I mean last mile carriers, wireless ISPs, wireline ISPs. There will ultimately be kind of a partner program that makes this ecosystem available to serve these communities most in need. So that's the very high level summary of the collection of broadband work that'll be going on under the umbrella of this partnership.
So Aaron, maybe we should back up for a second and just to talk to people about this grant, how much money, where that funding's coming from. I believe it's funding from Maricopa County. So that people have kind of a broad overview, and then, Derek's given us a little bit of perspective on broadband, but I think we need a little bigger perspective.
You want to zoom up a little bit? No, I think Derek's overview was absolutely perfect. It was, and I think you're right, Derek. Let's put all that on some slides so that we can do it. And maybe the first slide is, there is $34.6 million that is coming from Maricopa County. It was voted on and approved unanimously, which was fantastic, with support from Maricopa County Supervisor Bill Gates and everyone who was on the committee, which was fantastic. The comments that they made during the actual vote were really inspiring and helpful. And they are folks who have been doing this for a long time and care very deeply about getting it right. So just sort of throwing that out there, because I think for folks in Maricopa County, which is wonderful, this meaningful, massive step forward hopefully creates an ecosystem, or sets the stage for the creation of an ecosystem where we can all collectively start to do this work. $34.6 million is a tremendous amount of money. It's not enough money, but it's a tremendous amount of money. It is broken down into, I think, 6 total SOWs. We can walk through, when we do the deeper dive into all of this, what those SOWs each comprise. There are 5 of those that are broadband-ish specific. One of them is related to digital equity. Digital equity has a $10 million carve out of that $34.6 million. I can speak more specifically to that and what is included in that. And again, it is Maricopa County. The hope is that if we're doing this well, that it will become a model for other parts of the state as well, so that any county who wants to do this can create these ecosystems inclusive of connectivity, skills, navigating support, support ecosystems, all of those things. And hopefully that this becomes something that sets the stage for this same kind of work across the entirety of the state. So the $10 million carve out in Maricopa County for digital equity includes devices, for I think around 15,000 people. I think, don't quote me on that. I'm fairly sure, but I'm not currently looking at my slides where I did write it. It also includes digital navigator support for anyone who's part of the ecosystem. We'll be working with approximately 150 different anchor institutions. So those anchor institutions will cover covered populations. So those folks that are particularly at risk for any reason, including things like socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, whether someone is a veteran, whether they're previously incarcerated, someone who is at risk because of their age, either because they are particularly young and vulnerable, or someone who is elderly. So the same sort of mechanisms for understanding at-risk status as we use in IJA, which is fantastic. This absolutely complements the work that the state is doing in the Infrastructure and Jobs Act effort. Let's see what else is in that. Devices, skills, collaboration with community anchor institutions, and digital literacy. So digital literacy for, I want to say up to 50,000 people. So digital literacy, including basic literacy. So how do you use the internet safely and effectively, and financial literacy and well-being. Hi, Alicia. Sorry, my new assistant director just joined. I'm so excited that she was able to get in. Sorry, we were trying to get her on this morning and she just popped up on my screen. And better understanding of telehealth. And then the digital navigator support, community liaison programming. And I think that's it. And monitoring and evaluation to make sure that the thing that we say we're doing, we're actually doing. And it is really all built around collaboration. And our ability to effectively engage with the community in Maricopa County in a way that they perceive useful and helpful. And so that is the 10 million carve out in this big, huge $34.6 million program. The hope is that this county effort, as it gets groundswell and momentum moving forward, really does create the space where others want to be part of it. So before I scooch over after that, I did want to say I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing so many people who are part of today's event that are speaking. And before that event starts, I wanted to just take a moment and say thank you. I'm so excited that all of you will be there. I think this is just such a tremendous opportunity to create awareness in the state of the incredible work that's happening across the entirety of digital equity. So Holly, I see you. Janet, I see you. Elena, I see you. Who else is here? Sharika, yay. Yeah. So, and I'm sure there's more people that I just can't see right now because my screen is only this big. But I'm so thrilled that these people are going to share the work that they're doing, and that we have a mechanism by which to create awareness and increase, again, this momentum that we're starting to build here.
So you just want to remind people what that event is today?
Oh, that might help, huh? Thanks, Steve. So yeah. It is the Digital Inclusion, Arizona Digital Inclusion Summit. And so we were very purposefully just creating a space with Aiden and some of the other organizations that have been part of this effort for a really long time to showcase digital inclusion work in Arizona. Everything from connectivity and providers who are talking to work that's happening in STEM and workforce, digital literacy, community anchor institutions, you know, everything that we can showcase that's happening in Arizona. Because although there are some things that are changing, we are absolutely an exemplar state. We are doing this well, and we're working together. And I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. So Derek, do you want to add anything more? I know I interrupted you. Did you want to add anything more?
You know, I would simply add that one of the super exciting aspects of what we're going to be able to do with broadband is really lead with that community outreach and that community sensitivity side of what Aaron is doing, right? Working with communities to bring them, you know, meaningful solutions that are applicable in their communities. I would say is just added benefit. So
Okay. Okay, Aaron, anything else?
No. Hope everybody can make it today. We're really excited.
See you at 10.
All right, so Thanks for inviting us, Steve.
You bet.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so let's move on. We have a few other announcements that people might want to share. So Cindy, on the 6th, this Thursday, we have a Digital Inclusion Network Practitioners meeting.
Yes. Mhm.
You want to say anything more about that?
Oh, yeah, we meet every other Tuesday, every other Thursday, and the topic this week is we're looking at the future direction of the group and just trying to craft something that we can follow that has a little stronger definition and more action items. And so if anybody wants to be part of that discussion, you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat and we'll get you a link to the meeting.
Okay. And while you're at it, Cindy, do you want to talk about the Pima County Digital Literacy Forum coming up?
Yes, so we have an event tomorrow at 10. It's a digital literacy forum. We're going to be talking about, we have local and national speakers. We're going to be talking about digital literacy as it relates to workforce, older adults, healthcare, and online safety. So we've got a number of people, a good number of people attending, and I just hope it's an effort to raise awareness in the community about the need, why digital literacy matters and why we need to continue to expand and grow our programs here in Southern Arizona. So, and if anybody wants the link to that, I'll put that in the chat as well.
That's also in the email announcement I sent about this meeting, that link is also in there, if
Perfect.
I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then Janet, do you want to just talk briefly about the event on this past Saturday, and how that went?
I would love to. We had a lot of fun and I wish everyone could have been there. And I do want to, if I could, share a couple of photos while I speak.
Sure. So I'll stop sharing.
And I sure do want Holly to hop in afterwards because I really am so excited that she had the opportunity to attend. Aravaca is an amazing community. Can you see that?
Yep.
Full screen?
Yes.
It was a beautiful day, and you can see on the left, we started out having developed for several months now, all of the pre-production for this event. We put together a great map and lined up our tables, and you can see on the right that people just kind of went wildcat style and sought shade with their table. It's an interesting community because everyone you speak to in Aravaca says, I would ask, so what do you do here in Aravaca? And they would name off about 2 or 3 things that they volunteer for, and then say what they do that puts bread and butter on the table. So everybody in Aravaca is truly a member of the community, whether they volunteer as a tutor, a math tutor at the library, or they volunteer in the community garden. Everybody's a volunteer. And it was wonderful to meet folks. And we really specifically put together a community health day to roll out this great technology that our libraries have been investing in. Mala, as you know, our hero as our E-rate librarian, has been putting routers and all kinds of technology out in the field so people can have access to the internet. But now it's kicked up a notch by having peripheral off-the-shelf technologies and a beautiful electronic stethoscope that's very commonly used here in Arizona. We want the communities to know that they can go to the library and they can take charge of their own health and they can schedule an appointment with their own provider. And it's a fantastic project. And this is the best way I could think of rolling out this type of technology. We want people to embrace the technology, right? We want them to know that it's there. And we want to tell them, have them tell their providers that, hey, if I have a pre or post-surgery clinic, follow-up in clinic that takes 5 minutes, wouldn't it be great if I didn't have to drive an hour and a half to Tucson? And it's really been very successful so far, but Saturday was a big, big day. And another thing that honestly is not the icing on the cake, this is the cake. We had a team of nurses, Dr. Kim Shea, who's part of the Arizona telemedicine program and a super smart doctor nurse who teaches a telehealth certificate program. for advanced practice nurses. She brought a team of nurses who will be graduating in December as RNs. They're fully qualified to take patients' vitals, and they were very excited to be there for some human interaction. It was awesome. We were able to set up tents so that they could do health screening. We had eye screening. We gave out 38 vaccines through the Pima County Health Department. It was very successful in terms of numbers, but I think that the thing that I would like to do a brief promotional for the fact that it's not all about the numbers, right? It's the stories too. It's the people you meet and the differences you make in their lives by bringing these types of activities to their hometown. And we had a demonstration area with a doctor nurse by video who was our mock doctor, but she is a doctor. We had Kim Shea here, a meeting with her after the event because we really did have a lot of fun doing this. The nurses not only volunteered to take vital signs, but they volunteered to be patients. Each nurse had to rotate, and this is how you train the healthcare workforce of the future, right? In the telehealth world. Each person rotated through each of those areas. You know, you sit in as a patient if you really want the full experience of how to treat your patients. So to communicate using technology as a patient and as a provider are very important skills to have, and they're absolutely the skills of the workforce of the future. And here you see Holly. Holly attended, which was awesome to see her there. Not only did she meet new people, but she knew Gertie of the band, Gertie and the Boys. The band was a big draw, so was the yard sale around the corner. But anyway, we were able to show Holly and her husband, who I think was afraid we were going to examine him. We were able to show her exactly how the technology works. And this, you know, is how we want to train folks who would be going to the library to take their own vital signs, to take their own weight and blood pressure. The other thing that was a really big draw, which really, again, speaks of the commitment of this community, is to land a helicopter when you're doing this kind of event gets everybody to come on down. And it's also how we can help recruit that healthcare workforce of the future. I love being able to work high school career fairs and tell everyone that honestly, there's something for everyone in healthcare. And there are some very creative jobs that you might not have thought about if you're an artist, if you're an IT person, if you're a coder. Oh, so many jobs besides being a doctor and a nurse. So to be able to have these events in the community serves a lot of different purposes. It does improve the health of the community, provide access to resources. It gives some good human interaction for preparing the healthcare workforce, and promotes telehealth. So that's all good. Thank you very much.
You bet. Great job, Janet. I know you've put in a lot of time and effort, you and Mala.
And Holly, thanks to Holly and Mala.
Okay, Janet, you didn't mention about the eye clinic. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Lions Eye Clinic?
Yes, because here's a great opportunity for a private-public partnership. We had some Lions from Green Valley borrow the mechanism, and I've got great pictures. We're going to have to do a full slideshow. Actually, if you join us tomorrow, I'll be sharing more about this event. Pima County Libraries have really been leading the way as well. And we hooked up with Lions through Ron Schott of the Arizona Telecommunications Information Council, hooked us up with the Lions. The Lions from Green Valley came and supported this event. They screened over, I think, 30 people's eyes. They have a small device. They need a new one. It costs $9,000. So I can't think of a better way to spend some of that money that we have right now that's out there for creating some equity and access to healthcare. The other big camera is the non-mydriatic camera. You know, to be able to screen people's eyes in their own community, we're immediately cutting trips in half. You know, you don't travel for screening, hopefully, you just travel for follow-up. So the eye screening was really significant, and the device that they have, there's one for pediatric patients and one for adults, and they had one that does both. And I'd love to see what we can do to work on some funding for getting one for the folks who are based in Green Valley, because our next stop is Ajo. We want to roll out this technology and have a community health day in Ajo. And the technology's there, but it's a matter of making people aware that it's there, including their local healthcare providers and the other screening that happened. I'm not sure how many health screenings we did, but Mala, I look forward to seeing those final numbers, and Ken will have those for you and for Holly, so that again, the numbers and the stories. And I really want to document some of the stories that those get attached to the numbers and really are part of the report, because of course Mala, having worked so hard to write these grants, is also generating those reports. And we always, at the Arizona Telemedicine Program, and I'm convinced this is why we still get our funding every year, we tell the stories, we share pictures as part of our report, and absolutely share the numbers, but share the stories. Holly, did you want to say anything? Because I really can't thank both you and Mala enough for having the foresight to do this.
Thank you, Janet. I think you covered it really thoroughly, except I do want to just amplify the comments about Pima County Public Library's role in all of this, because we originally, when Mala asked for grant funding to be able to support a telemedicine project in Arizona, then we thought about which library system would be able to really pilot this and figure out all of the different legal aspects of telemedicine. And we knew that PCPL has a great legal team support, that they could use that and go through, have all of the forms to be vetted. And so Ken Zambos has just been amazing. He was there on Saturday and he was doing everything from moving tables to helping troubleshoot with the internet. And so just a huge shout out to them. They have done all of the things that we really wanted them to do to set this up as a model, a pilot project, so that we can replicate it in other libraries throughout the state. We have some money set aside to do that this coming fiscal year that starts now. October 1 is the beginning of our federal fiscal year. So we're really excited about the opportunities. And Saturday was, like Janet said, it was just an amazing event to see the community turn out like that. There were cars parked all along the dirt roads everywhere, and people were getting vaccines. They were doing the testing, and to be able to see myself that, you know, here we are communicating with a doctor in Maine and
Right.
getting results from these devices that are transmitting information to her. It was really amazing. So big shout out to everybody that made it so successful.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you to all of you who have done a great job. As always, our state library is phenomenal. Pima County's doing great stuff. And Janet, you've been doing great stuff for I don't know how many years. It's pretty awesome. So Janet, while you're at it, do you want to just talk briefly about the Telemedicine Council meeting coming up?
Yes, this is a meeting that's open to the public, and this is where I get to share the stories. You know, we get our funding every year from not only the state legislature, but we get funding from HRSA and other sources. But it's important for us that we report every quarter to the Telemedicine Council. It's been here since we've been here. Dr. Weinstein started it when our program started it, and Bob Burns is still co-chair of that council. The agenda is pretty exciting because we'll have an update from the VA. I would love to have, and I've sworn this is my goal in life, before we go to Ajo, to get the Southern Arizona VA on board. There's great telehealth happening through the VA in Phoenix. In Southern Arizona, we have veterans who are driving for miles and miles and would rather be at home or would rather be at the library. So we're going to work on that one. So we'll get an update from the VA. And there's also going to be the release of a study, a survey that was conducted by Dr. Alan Pitt as a chair of a task force that was designated by Bob Burns. So getting the results of that report at the next council meeting will be really exciting. And then I usually get to share an update from our team. And you bet I'm going to be talking about Arivaca and sharing some beautiful photos and that story as well, because the whole idea is, as Holly mentioned, to replicate this. You know, there are beautiful libraries. They're all very unique across our state. They all have varying levels of resources. And I really look forward to deploying this type of technology and buying blood pressure cuffs by the dozen so that we have these types of devices on our shelves as we move forward, and getting the word out to the community health centers and everybody out there that these devices are available. So I look forward to sharing that with our Telemedicine Council as well. And I'll share a link on our website if Mark hasn't done it already, because he always does that. But I'll share a link to the Telemedicine Council meeting. You can see who's on the council, and please do attend if you're available. It's Wednesday, October 19th from 11 to 1 p.m. They used to be in person, Maybe in the fall, maybe in the spring, who knows? But please join us if you'd like to get an update from folks around the state who are really doing the work of telemedicine.
Again, most of you should have received the announcement of our meeting today, and the link to that meeting is also there. So you should already have that information.
Oh, there you go. And I'm going to include a PDF that has that as well as other upcoming events in the chat.
Sure.
Thank you.
So just quickly, Jermaine, you want to just make a quick comment? You put a comment in the chat about building a new fiber network to Ajo.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that we were pleased to announce that we recently won the grant to build a brand new fiber infrastructure from our network up here in Chandler all the way down to Ajo. So it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're excited to be part of that. In fact, I'm actually headed down there later on today to kind of get understanding more about that city and town, see what we can do to get more personal and partner up with the community out there. So
Jermaine, just want to tell people who you're with.
Sure. I've been with a company called Lubian Communications. We're part of the Gila tribe community out here in Chandler. I'm based in Tucson, and my role is really to help build the infrastructure from Chandler all the way down to southern Arizona. So my role essentially is just hitting the rural towns, cities, Coolidge, Casa Grande, Maricopa, now Ajo, which is now on my radar. Really, and just to interconnect, get everybody connected, and again, just support everybody out there. So.
Okay, thank you. So before we move on, Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself quickly? I know Aaron told us who you are, but you want to just say hi?
I would be honored to do that. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alicia DeMesa, and I'm actually joining Aaron Carr-Jordan as Assistant Director of Digital Equity for Digital Equity Institute. So it's a pleasure to be with all of you. I'm actually fourth generation of Mesa, downtown Mesa in Arizona. We came here by way of Mexico and Japan. So my family is Apache of Chihuahua, Mexico, Mestiza, and Japanese of Fukuoka.
Interesting. Well, welcome. We'll get you added to our list and hope to see you regularly in our meetings.
Thank you.
You bet. Anybody else have any event announcements that they want to share? Going once?
Nope,
Yeah, Elena.
Yep, I'll give another plug for our ACP sign up event on Friday. We are partnering with Chicanos por la Causa. I know Robert's on the call. We hope to have lots of people that we can sign up right on the spot with some digital navigators that we'll have available. It is at the Robert, help me out here. It's the Recreation Center on Tonto, but you might have the full name. I always forget.
Yeah, it's at our it's at the park over here. It's the
See, he forgot too.
Yeah,
Central.
Yes,
Central.
thank you. Central Park Recreation Center, 120. I know the address, 120 East Tonto Street. And we would love to have you all just come out, have some fun. We're going to be, we have resource booths. There will be the signups, like I said, food. We have a DJ. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's a great opportunity to really get to talk to people, really be on the ground and talk to people who are really in need of the internet. So we hope to get some good stories from folks, some success stories, that kind of thing, get people signed up, etc. So Robert, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
No, I was kind of talking about the beginning of the meeting, and the handouts are if you look at the beginning of the chat, they're attached, so definitely check it out, and you guys are all welcome, and come say hi to us, and then it should be a good time.
It's from 3 to 7. So yeah.
And we hope to do this more. So depending on how this goes, we'll do more of these events in other locations as well.
Yep.
Drew, do you want to add anything?
Nope, Elena got it. Look forward to that event.
Great.
Hey,
Okay.
Steve,
Hey,
Yeah.
Steve, when Janet had the floor, maybe Janet could give a little recap to this AZSTEM Summit. I put a picture of her and Cindy and you in there last week. So, Janet, back to you for a second.
The AZ STEM Summit?
The SciTech Summit.
Oh, yeah. That was that's always my favorite gig. It's a lot of fun to be there. You always meet really interesting people. I snuck away and attended a great presentation in the planetarium. And I met a lot more teachers than students this year, which was great. And it just keeps growing and growing. So there actually was in the creative maker space, higher education and a few other tables. And the thing that's really hard, and I know, Steve, when you produced the high-tech career fair here in town in Tucson, you know, it's difficult and challenging when you're put like in a healthcare neighborhood. People walk by and go, oh, I'm not interested in healthcare, and they blow off that whole row. And I kind of feel like that happened in terms of the way it was set up. You know, I was with a bunch of higher education tables, and if you already knew where you were going to school, you know, people kind of look in and go, oh, well, there's other stuff. You know what I mean? It's nice to be more intermingled, because I had a wonderful person sitting next to me from NAU who was grouped with us because she was from NAU. Well, she would have met a lot more students and had a lot more traffic and had some really good hands-on robotic stuff, but she didn't see a lot of traffic because she was off in the other space. So I'd like to see a way that it could grow, and it's a perfect venue. It really is, Arizona Science Center. So that's my brief review. And as always, I had a great day, and it was nice to spend time with Cindy. I met Roberto's friends, Robert's friends from Chicanos por la Casa, who came, and I had their flyer on my table, so they stopped and visited, which was great. And maybe Cindy, you could send Robert their names. I don't know where the business cards went. They're on my desk at work. But it was nice, and I didn't get to see you, Steve.
Yeah, I know you were way over on the other building.
Yeah, it was kind of El Paso, but it was fun. Great day.
Yeah. Okay, any other announcements?
Hey, good morning.
Huh?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Okay, whoever that is,
Good.
please mute. Is that you, Ian? Thank you. Okay, let me get, just a reminder, a couple of things, that if you look in the chat, there are several files. If you want to download those, now is the time to do that, because once we shut down the meeting, you cannot download those files from the chat. I do try to capture all of those and send out the follow-up to this meeting and try to include all of those files. But if you need them or want them today, since several of those are very time sensitive, you need to download them from the chat now. Okay. So moving on, let's back up here. Let me get rid of that. And I'm going to share again.
Great photo, Kirk. Thanks.
We even got the one of Steve in there holding up Aaron's flyer.
Okay, so let's move on with some updates. As you all know, Jeff is no longer the broadband manager. I don't think Sandeep is on the call. And anybody have anything more about, I believe that, what's his name is going to be acting in that position, but I don't believe there's anybody at least announced at this point to be full-time. And at least my guess is, and anybody may have different thoughts, that they may not fill that position until after the election, but who knows? Anybody have any more information about that? Okay,
hey,
moving on.
Steve,
I'm sorry,
Steve,
John?
Steve, you got to give a little bit more than 2 seconds before you go on. So,
oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I don't have any specific intel on the broadband position, but last week I noticed that the Arizona Commerce Authority had posted a position for a senior vice president, and I don't have it in front of me, but it's for infrastructure. So I have a sense, without any specific information, if you guys look at I saw it on LinkedIn, but I'm sure it's on the ACA website. They're looking for a senior vice president to report into the chief innovation officer and would have a lot of infrastructure related responsibilities associated with IIJA. So I don't know if that would be who the broadband position would report into, or if that's a way for them to upgrade that position and give it a little bit broader portfolio. But I thought it was a really interesting job description.
And I believe, at least what I've heard, is that Brian Sherman will be the acting director until such time as they fill that position. Anybody know anything more about that? He's a chief innovation officer, if I understand correctly.
That would certainly make a lot of sense. I haven't heard that specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
So that may just be a rumor, but that's what I've heard. So moving on, Mala, you want to give us an update? What's happened with libraries?
Finishing on that real quick,
Okay,
John.
Kirk.
Yeah, it is correct. Sherman is the acting guy in that position. And yeah, Marissa Walker was the EVP in charge of infrastructure, but now she's going to focus more on the Mobility Institute. And I think you're correct, that infrastructure position will then house the broadband agenda, from what I understand. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, we'll be looking for more confirmation about that. I do have a call into Brian. So anyway, we'll be looking for more confirmation, and hopefully whoever's in that position, we can get them to participate with us. So moving on, Mala, you have anything more you want to say about libraries?
Very quickly, I just wanted to thank Holly and Janet for being there, and Ken Zambor for being there physically. I'm sorry I couldn't, but Janet actually walked me through with an iPad through the whole setup. I wanted one more thanks to Jody Olson, who is the librarian at Arivaca Library. If it weren't for her, we couldn't have done all that we did. You know, she has a way with the community that it's impossible for us to imagine even, and all the partnerships and the collaborations that made this happen. It's almost a year's worth of work that went into piloting this project, but now that we have the blueprint, we can replicate it elsewhere as well. So thanks to everyone, and to Jody as well. One more thing I wanted to mention was that we did purchase an extra set of kits, a kit, so that we could loan them to people if they needed it, especially post-operative, those kind of things. So they can keep it with them for a week, a day, or 2 days, whatever they decide with the librarian. Those kits can be loaned out. So they come in a backpack. They can be put into a backpack and loaned out. The other thing that we did have there was also our, I don't know how many of you know that our state library has a talking book library for those who who have visual impediment. They can't see well, or they can't hold a book well to read. And we mail kits to them that can, and books on a thumb drive, so that it can, we download those and we send it to them, and they can actually listen. The equipment stays with them for life. So this is another service that we were promoting there. People who have, even kids that have reading difficulty and are not at the Lexile level they should be, books read out to them keeps their interest in reading and learning, which is again another form of digital literacy, audio digital literacy. So that is another thing we promoted there. And of course, the bookmobile. Pima County sent their bookmobile, and this bookmobile we equipped with last year's LSDA grant with an antenna that has a longer reach than just a Wi-Fi router outside the library. So these were done during the COVID times, when we started out by putting routers outside, Wi-Fi antennas outside the library so that the parking lots would get Wi-Fi. And we equipped the bookmobiles likewise, so people could sit around the bookmobiles and enjoy whatever the books that the bookmobile carried, as well as use the bookmobile for digital and computer literacy. Chairs could be put around the bookmobile, and computers put out there, laptops put out there, and any kind of training that needed to be done could be done outside surrounding the bookmobile. So those were, again, some of the things that we promoted at this pilot project, and hope to do so if we can secure grants to do more of these. As far as the affordable connectivity ACP program, we have now 307 households signed up, and we're moving up the list. We're still not within the top 10, but we are pretty close. I think we're nearly 12 at that level for the number of sign-up nationwide. So kudos to everyone who's been doing real great work promoting this. E-rate, we're inching our way up to the amount that we applied for. We had applied for over $100 million. We are at a funding commitment of $63 million. So hopefully we will get there soon. And the last thing that I wanted to say was that the draft eligible services list that was released, the deadline to report, to file any requests for changes or additions was 21st of September. And I reviewed those that, who had submitted, those who had submitted requests for additions to it. Top on the list is cybersecurity tools. And the second on the list is Wi-Fi on school buses, clarification on how, on the rules and questions about it and things like that. Next generation firewalls were also nearly the top of the list. And some clarifications on fixed wireless eligibility for the community. So back to you, Steve, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Okay. Holly, do you want to add anything?
Just that, Steve, you've asked me multiple times before about whether we had any candidates for the digital inclusion consultant position, and I'm happy to say that we're going to start interviews this week. We reached out to NDIA and asked them if they would help us with some contacts to get some possible candidates, and then we've advertised through ALA, and so we are going to be doing interviews. So
awesome.
Hopefully we find just the right person, and we are not replacing Nicole. We are just hiring a successor for her.
Okay.
No replacement for Nicole.
Okay. Anything else with the libraries? I don't, Mom, I don't know if you need to say anything more about the telehealth and libraries, or we covered that today.
I think we covered it. Thank you.
Okay. Janet, do you have anything else you want to say about telemedicine?
We're also looking for a new director, and we should be starting interviews next week. We have 3 candidates. I'm pretty excited about that. I hope they're all about outreach and all about diabetes and STEAM, right? Those are my wish lists right there. The other thing I wanted to say is it's really hard to think about how I can only speak for 5 minutes on telehealth. That's my challenge today, right? 5 minutes. And the thing that comes to mind is I hear Mala talk about all the great work and the groundwork for, the routers and wireless activities so that moms aren't lurking in the Starbucks parking lots anymore. It really is for a lot of different applications, and it's wonderful that now there's going to be telehealth peripherals, and And the very important point that she made is, to be able to do a job search, to be able to do other applications, that's what this space is needed for. And it's a great way to maximize what connectivity that there is, provide access as much as you can, because if people have that space for a private conversation about their healthcare and they have devices, then they've got access to healthcare. So it's a pretty exciting time, and there is money for these things like there never used to be, money for bandwidth, money for technology. So it's pretty exciting times for all of us, especially all of us here on this call who work within this space. So I look forward to the week of activities, beginning with today's kickoff and seeing what other people are doing.
Great,
Hearing
thanks.
the great work.
Thanks, Janet. You also do great work. So moving on to the Department of Ed. So I don't
Steve,
think,
could Janet put her email address in the chat, please?
sure.
Thank you.
And so Department of Ed, Sophia, I don't think Sophia was on, but Kelly, you're on. Kelly Crucy.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Kelly from the Office of Digital Teaching and Learning at the Arizona Department of Education. All of that to say that I don't have any updates. I do think Shelby's here. I'm not sure if she does, but I don't think Sophia and Mylan are here. But nothing new to report this week.
Okay. Yeah, and I didn't see Shelby or Mylan this morning. So moving on, Cindy, do you have anything else to report other than what you've already talked about?
We're doing in Tucson for Digital Inclusion Week. I did get a proclamation from the mayor proclaiming this Digital Inclusion Week 2022, and that was kind of nice. In Tucson, we also have events going on Saturday. There's an electronics recycling event put on by We Care Tucson, which is a computer refurbisher. And they're trying to gain some visibility in the community and having an open house as well. And then an organization called AZBSN is going to be bringing a Chromebook techie camp down to one of the Boys and Girls Clubs location here in Tucson. I'm really excited to attend that event and see how that all goes. It's kind of the first of its kind for Boys and Girls Clubs in Tucson, and everybody's really excited. The kids get to take the Chromebook home. So I'm going to be watching that and also being sure that we follow up and that the kids get the digital literacy skills training they need when they take their computer home, and that the parents become aware of the ACP and give them an opportunity to sign up for the discount internet that provides. That's my deal.
So Cindy and Elena, can you talk about, have there been, I think Elena, you've done some press announcements. Have we been promoting ACP through the media more?
Yeah, we've actually had a number of stories. I did an interview for NPR a couple weeks ago. Arizona Republic ran something last week, I believe. So yeah, we've had, those were just two. I think we did a Univision spot. We did something on Telemundo. We have Cox running RPSA for ACP signup. So yeah, there's actually been a lot of activity.
Yeah, I've run into a number of people recently who still have not heard about ACP. And of course, that's, I mean, you can't hit everybody. That's not going to happen. But I was just kind of curious about what kind of media outreach we've done.
Well, and Steve, the other thing that I'm doing more of is people are starting to ask me to do training on how to actually do the sign up. And I had a woman from Literacy Connects with a student who's an immigrant who wanted to sign up, and we walk through the documentation that would be needed, the eligibility and the ID information. And I learned that this fellow was not eligible based on his status. But every time that I sit down with someone, I learn more about the program. And it really is important to get training so you understand what the program is about, and don't just splash it out there and say it's free internet, because there really is a eligibility process, and yeah, we need all to know what we're talking about when we sit people down. So I'm encouraged to hear, like, I trained Goodwill in Southern Arizona. They want their staff actually ready to help sign people up. So I did a training for them, and I'm available to do that if people need that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Cindy? Okay, moving on. We've already heard from Aaron today. Derek, do you have anything else from Sun Corridor?
I don't today, Steve. Thanks for the opportunity.
Sure. So I don't think Rory is on. Rory, are you on today? I don't think Wes or Rory is on today. So I think we're kind of done with updates unless anybody has anything else that they want to share this morning. Going once, going twice. Well, if not, then I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to stop the recording. And if anybody would like to stay on to Kibitz, we'll see you. If not, we'll see you next week.